In this session, we are going to look at some important points in effective studying. First of all, we want to clarify two words, understanding and remembering. They are highly related because both happens in your brain. So understanding is more useful in problem solving and designing new things. And also, the more you understand, it is less to remember because your brain tend to remember things that you have understood. The brain hates to remember things that you have not understood. And also, remembering facts has less importance in the information era because information is now at our fingertips of a Google search. Let's look at some important points in effective study. The first thing is look at the big picture. When you are new to a subject, a new topic, first look at the big picture, not at great depth, at a breadth. It's very important you go by what, why, how sequence. Never rush into how without spending quality time on what and why. What is that concept? Why is this concept important? What are the usages? So then you are in a very good position to dig into the how, the mechanisms. When it comes to education, the two most important concepts are the analyzing and synthesizing. So analyzing is you look at the big picture and understand the subcomponents. Whereas synthesizing is you look at those subcomponents and try to get the big picture. So when it comes to studying, we spend more time on analysis. Whereas when it comes to problem solving, designing things, we spend more time on synthesizing. So when it comes to analyzing, it's very important you know how to break down the concepts. So here we use the concept called divide and conquer. Once you break it into subcomponents, smaller components, it may start making more sense. So when you are breaking it down into subcomponents, we must never lose the big context. That is how they are interconnected, how they are associated. Another important concept is reorganize the contents. So when you attend a lecture, when you read a book or article, the contents are presented the way the presenters is interested. That will work when it is a simple concept. But when it comes to complicated subjects, so you may have to rearrange it the way you like it, the way your brain prefer it. So once you reorganize it slightly, so things may make more sense to you. And another important concept is generalization and specialization. This is different from dividing it to subcomponents. So this is happening at conceptual level. You understand the general concepts and then you try to understand the specialized concepts. And then you understand it as a hierarchy of inheritance. So let's take few examples. So we can take the knowledge itself as a generalization, specialization hierarchy. So we can see that science and humanities are two special type of knowledge. So when it comes to science, there are specializations like formal science, natural science, social science, applied science. But whether you are learning mathematics or physics, the concept of science is valid, the logical thinking and the scientific approach. At the same time, there are specializations, whereas mathematics is a formal thing, and physics is we try to understand the nature. That it's not perfect knowledge. So let's take another example. So if you are studying IT, you have to learn different computer languages. So first you look at what is a computer language. So what are the features? The simplicity, the minimalistic nature, non-ambiguity. So then you look at what are the type of languages. So what are the type of computer languages? The programming languages, markup languages, styling languages, query languages. So then you learn about the programming language concepts like control structures, object orientation. So those concepts are not relevant to markup languages. When you look at it as a hierarchy of specialization, it make more sense to you and you can learn it with lesser effort because you learn the general things at general level. So then you reuse that knowledge. So let's look at another important aspect. Look for the patterns. Maybe you need to do a little bit of reorganizing, restructuring. So then you will see more and more patterns. The more and more patterns you see, again, it makes more sense to you. So let's look at another aspect, the critical thinking. So critical thinking is you never take anything for granted. You always ask why. You use your logical thinking for reason out, and also look for the root causes. So when it comes to logical reasoning, so there are two main approaches. The deductive reasoning, where we start with general concepts or the theory and try to understand the specific cases or justify the specific cases. So that is more relevant when you are studying in a formal manner, understanding concepts. So then there's another way of thinking, that is inductive reasoning. So you look at the specific cases and try to understand the general thing, or you generalize things, try to come up with a theory. So that is more useful when you are doing some practical things like designing something. Try to see the root cause of a problem and solve it. So both are important, and we have to use it at different contexts. So the root cause analysis is one of the important aspects in studying. So don't settle for the immediate cause. Look for the root cause, because when you are solving a problem, designing something with specific feature, you have to address the root cause, not the immediate cause. So if you address the root cause only, you are going to get the desired effect. And that is why we use something called ask why 5 times principle. Because if you settle for the first reasoning or the first level of why, it may not be the root cause. So a lot of students says, I don't understand the subject. So one of the reason is they just stay with the level 1. In order to understand, you have to get into the level 2, 3, 4, 5. So when it comes to studying, it is very important that we study brain-friendly manner, memory-friendly manner, because there's a remembering aspect as well. So therefore, let's try to understand how the memory works, or the human memory works. So when you see something or listen to something, or when you feel something, there's something called sensory memory or sensory buffer, which is very short and very small memory, just to keep it for specific tasks. When you look at the whiteboard and taking some notes, you have to frequently look at the whiteboard. Why? Because you are keeping it in the sensory memory, and while you are writing, taking it down. So then you have the short-term memory. The short-term memory span for about 1 or 2 days. So when you freshly learn something, it will be there for the rest of the day. And again, the majority of the stuff is going to be drained out. Only a small part will get into the long-term memory. So it is the long-term memory that is highly reliable. And it's huge in size, and also you can keep it for eternity. Only thing is, not everything is naturally going into the long-term memory. Only if you think about that concept while it is in the short-term memory, spend some quality time understanding, problem solving, practicing, so then only the more and more of the contents in the short memory is going into the long-term memory. And also if you find it something interesting, useful, again it's tend to go into the long-term memory. And ultimately you have to rely on the long-term memory. So let's look at the fast thinking versus slow thinking. So this is the two way of thinking. The fast thinking is good when you want to take a quick decision, and also when you have the time constraints like exam. But when it comes to solving a problem, designing something, understand a complicated concept, you have to go for slow thinking. So slow thinking is deliberately you think slowly. You never rush. because when you are thinking slowly, you are more conscious. So that gives you extra time to go into more details. So use slow thinking when you try to understand a complex subject. So another very important concept in verifying your understanding is check whether you can explain it in a simple manner to someone else. Either you can directly explain it to someone, or you can just write a blog post or make a video. So all those things are going to help the other parties as well as for you to verify your understanding. And also it is important to evaluate your understanding. So that is why you have to attempt some problem solving, some quizzes, doing some practical things. So it will evaluate your understanding. And if there are any lapses, you are going to find it and you have time to fix it, understand those things. And it's very important you practice what you have learned, because when you are doing those things in a practical manner, so many other practical issues will come into the surface, and now you have the opportunity to dig into those things and come up with some solutions. And another important aspect of effective studying is the productivity. So productivity is doing things in an effective and efficient manner. So effectiveness means you do the right things, the things that is going to give you the results. The efficiency is you do the things the best possible way. That is why we are doing this session, finding out those important aspects. And also it's very important you focus on quality rather than quantity. It is not the amount of time you spend on a subject, it is the amount of quality time you spend on that subject. How serious are you? And when it comes to productivity, it's very important you manage things or manage your studies rather than just do it. So we all know that managing means you plan out things, you organize the resources and other things, you lead, that means you don't let things to happen, rather you make things to happen, and also you control things when things are not going according to your plan. Either you check whether your plan is not realistic or you take some controlled actions. And it's very important that you study with passion. So you can study with passion only if you study subjects that you really like it. And that can be extended to your career later, that is you work with passion. So then there won't be much of a stress. And finally, it's very important, studying is not your life. It's important part of your life. So make sure you enjoy your life, career, and your personal things as well. If you feel like this session is useful to you, make sure that you like it, subscribe so that you will be notified when more and more sessions are uploaded. Thank you.